Hi there, I'm Scott Lowe with ActualTech Media, and I'm here today at Cloudtenna, where I'm joined by Aaron Ganek, who is the co-founder of the company. Aaron, thank you for having us here today.
Thank you for having me.
So, Cloudtenna is bringing order to enterprise file search chaos.
Absolutely.
Now, one of the things I've seen is I've seen the screenshots. I've seen this little bar that looks like Google, but behind that is massive complexity. And some of the best tools on the market are the ones that appear to be deceptively simple. Tell us what's behind that search box when we look at the Cloudtenna interface. What's making that work?
Well, let's talk about what that search interface is. So it starts with, this is a place where you can go and you can type in a search query, and it's going to go out, and behind the scenes, it searches all the places you store files inside your enterprise. So we have connectors to cloud repositories, things like Google Drive or Microsoft OneDrive. But then we also have connectors to on-prem repositories and SaaS applications. Something like Salesforce, that you might not even think of a traditional storage repository, is a place where a lot of invoices and other documents end up getting stored. So when we want to do search, we need to be able to connect to wherever your company stores data. So that's the first part that we do behind the scenes. But the second thing that we need to do is we need to be able to look and understand what files you personally have access to. Inside every company, they have millions of files spread across all of these different repositories. And that company has thousands of employees. And each one of those employees has access to a different subset of files. So we needed a system that can, when I do a search, would only return me files that I am able to view and have permissions to view. So we had to go through and do a whole bunch of work, thank you to our engineers, to make sure that when we do a search, file permissions are respected.
And you've got all these different repositories. I mean, and they all have different security mechanisms.
Right.
They all have, some have ACL, sometimes it's group memberships in Active Directory, sometimes it's something completely different. So you've had to, for every connector, build an interface that respects the permissions and then aggregate all that into a common way that you're managing with your index. You're matching that against your index. Can you tell us a little bit about how that looks?
Yeah, so we have an identity management solution, our IDM. And what our IDM does is it is built individually for each connector. So each connector will understand what type of file permissions that particular service uses. You can imagine an on-prem file server with NTFS file permissions has a different file permission paradigm than Dropbox, and a really different file permission paradigm than Slack, and something that doesn't even have files and folders. We need to be able to normalize all of that when we ingress data. So our system is designed to be able to ingress massive amounts of data very quickly so you can see your latest files, but also to be able to normalize those file permissions. To do that, we had to build personalized analytics. And we really looked outside the box to do this. If you look at traditional storage and search, Elasticsearch will probably come up a lot in the research that you're doing. And Elasticsearch really has challenges that they struggle to overcome when you're doing personalized file search. So we said, well, what else does personalized type of analytics? And we ended up looking at the online advertising industry. They've used a new technology, fast data with Spark and the SMAC stack, and they're able to do personalized ads at massive scale. Well, that's really what we're trying to do, personalized search results at massive scale.
Yeah.
So we're taking technology from the online advertising world, and we're bringing it into the enterprise search world. This enables us to make sure that employees can only access files that they have permissions to view.
And I think on the surface, when you look at this little box, you don't think about the scale. You think, this is what I need. But when you're talking about, especially as you look at Cloudtenna as a whole, potentially millions or billions of users, that you have to keep track of all this stuff. And so that becomes a math problem, a serious math problem.
A massive permutation problem, because each employee could have a different view on the same set of data. You know, maybe a bit off topic, but one of the things I like to talk about, are you a college basketball fan? You watch the NCAA tournament?
I don't watch sports much, but I understand it.
But you know the bracket for the NCAA tournament, if you were to fill out every possibility on how that bracket could go, there's 63 games. You do every combination of those 63 games and put it paper one on top of another. It would go from here to the moon 6 times. And we're talking about 63 games.
Right.
Now let's start talking about every permutation possible when you're talking about millions of files, thousands of users and various different Active Directory groups and functions. When you start to make one little change, it might sound small. Hey, we just moved this guy from the marketing team to the sales team, and we just changed one little ACL. But that has a massive impact. And we had to build technology that was able to address that and not take a day or a week to be able to catch up.
So how real time is it? If I make a group change, or I make an ACL change to something, or I remove a Slack user, how long does it take before it catches up in the Cloudtenna platform?
Yeah, my co-founder yells at me a lot because, as more on the marketing side, I like to say it's real time, and of course, it's near real time. This is something that we are able to get done in a matter of about 2 to 3 minutes, and it depends on how many employees you have inside your company and how big your company is. But it's something we do very, very quickly for the most complex. For a simple change, this could be a matter of a second or 2 seconds. So we're really aiming to do this in a real productivity use case.
So you're having to track these changes. It's not where are you storing it? You're doing this on a Delta basis somehow. You're not re-indexing all the time because that would take weeks. But how are you handling this from a Delta perspective?
So every connector is different. So we can plug into Dropbox APIs, or we can build it. We have our own connectors to an on-prem file server, and that gives us back a different subset of information. And we use that to intelligently index. So in a really dumb way, yes, you can just go loop, hey, is there any change here? Is there any change here? Is there any change here? But most services give you more information that can really help us target when we can receive an event that says, hey, this file changed or this file permission has changed. We can go in, rescan just that one file, and then reprocess all of the file permissions. Now this is something, again, Elasticsearch really will struggle with when you have to make even just one change, where we are able to reprocess very, very quickly.
So a worst case scenario is you'd have to do your own Delta tracking if a connector couldn't do it, but in the best case, basically you're being told this user changed, you're getting basically a log file.
Well, so let me give you a good example here. So one of the things that we do is we interact with your on-premises file storage. To do that, we're taking a look at the CIFS protocol. This is a standard protocol. Every CIFS drive does this. And that gives us access to some information. But we also partner with NetApp, Nutanix, and a few others because they've built auditing tools on top of the standard CIFS protocol. And we're able to correlate that together to be able to pull out the files that we need to scan. And that helps increase our optimization, our efficiency, to make sure we're not going to cripple your file server.
Very good. So again, it goes back to the original statement. There is massive complexity behind this thing that you are shielding users from in an effort to help them get back 20% of their time.
That's what I hope. I think it's going to be really valuable to our end users, and it's our goal to make it super easy for a company to deploy this to. So to make sure that they can go in, if it's on-prem, you drop a simple virtual appliance. And if you're trying to connect to a cloud repository, it's as simple as connecting to Facebook.
Very good. Aaron, thank you so much for this in-depth discussion about a look behind the screen at Cloudtenna.
Well, thank you.
And thank you to our audience for watching this Roadcast video.